Nah, he'll be he is just only one of us to the interview part, but I'll get the show started here. Welcome to the interview portion of the Spurs Up show for Clemson week. For this week, we have Clemson Tom. If you don't know who that is, I guess you've been living under a rock. He's one of, I would say, Clemson's most prominent fans. You've been on game day, what, 3 times? Anyway, just want to welcome him to the show. And Clemson Tom's glad to have you on here.
Thanks, man. Glad to be a part of it.
Should be a good interview today, guys. So let's get right to it. And we're going to go from anywhere from Clemson to the playoff to, different things. So just make sure you stay tuned in for the entire interview. But my first question will be that obviously Dabo Swinney has had a lot of success as the head coach at Clemson. When he was hired, did you expect I would say the level of success he's brought to the football program? Would you expect the things that he's done for a Clemson football program?
No, absolutely not. That you always expect a certain level of success. There was even a time I wasn't even his biggest fan. I just was, especially when you guys are beating us. We always felt like we kept getting in our own way. But you could see, like, all right, he's trying to build something here, but at the same time, you're like, man, I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to reach the top. And then we get Deshaun Watson, and things are looking up and up. But I never was really sold on Deshaun his freshman year because everyone's good, coming in out of high school. But the kid obviously proved me wrong. I was on him, definitely was behind him, just wasn't sure if he was going to live up to the hype. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence, just wasn't sure how the hype was going to work out. But Sean gets in there, defense just reloads and reloads. Year after year, wide receivers come in, and next thing you know, we won a national championship. I feel like we belong in the playoffs every year. It doesn't seem right if we're not in the playoff. It's almost expected at this point. So, no, I never thought it would get to be like this, to where we're always in the competition.
And that's something I completely forgot to mention this whenever I was doing the intro. But when I was like growing up, I remember when South Carolina, and this is when when South Carolina, won 5 in a row over Clemson, whatever, it doesn't matter now. But you used to post those YouTube videos, and those things were some of the most hilarious videos like I'd ever seen in my life. Just to see like the absolute outrage you had every year, because it wasn't like Clemson was good every year. Like y'all were winning 10 games, but the fact that it seemed like you couldn't beat South Carolina every year was such like a heartbreaker, and I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, those were fun, man. A lot of people took those like really serious, to the point where I was like chill. Even we all have those fans, but Clemson has some uppity fans, which I just wasn't aware of until you start doing stuff, and you're like, dude, chill. I had some people were like, you're such a disgrace to the university. I'm like, I'm talking football, chill. I'm not discussing the chemistry department. And it used to bug me. Then I met one of those fans. I was like really uppity. And I met him, and I'm like, I can't believe I let this nerd get me into my feels that way. I was like, then I just kind of laugh it off. And now it just, after a while, your skin gets a little thicker, and I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
Well, I definitely think for every fan base, you have those fans. They're just going to act ridiculous and say things that don't make any sense, regardless of what's going on. But I would think that with Clemson being such a powerhouse, I don't think anybody can deny at this point I would say they're going to be a top 4 or 5 team unless their recruiting just drops out of nowhere out of the sky. But a lot of people are saying nowadays that the ACC is one of the weaker conferences. I would say they're the weakest conference in the Power 5. If you want to say them or Pac-12, I could lean either way there. My personal opinion. But do you think that Dabo and the rest of the coaches benefit, on the field and off the field recruiting wise for playing in, I would say, one of the weaker conferences in the Power 5, and maybe not. Obviously they dominate every year, but maybe when it comes to playoff time, they're more well rested than other teams like an Alabama or a Michigan or Ohio State or Oklahoma. I would say faced a tougher schedule than Clemson has.
Well, it's a give and a take, because yes, the ACC isn't a powerhouse conference, but we still got some good teams. It's just, I think history and tradition makes you overlook those games. And the same thing with the Alabamas. Alabama hasn't played anybody all year. Who was their toughest game? Even the SEC is down. And people want to keep hyping, SEC. And yeah, there for a while, I think a 10-year mark, the SEC was really, really good. And it was the best conference. But even now, they're not what they were. They're still living off, yesterday's hype and everything else. So to say that, would you, all right, let me ask you an honest question. With Clemson having Alabama's schedule, are we still undefeated?
I think they would be closer to I think it would be harder for Clemson to go into Death Valley and dominate. I don't know if they're undefeated, but I don't think they're. I could see undefeated maybe, but I definitely wouldn't see them dominating teams week in and week out like Alabama has.
Yeah, maybe not the domination aspect of it. I would give you that, but I mean, even then, I don't see, just looking at across the board, I don't see a game that we would lose. If you look at anything, Michigan or even Notre Dame has a harder schedule, which I'll even say the Big 12 is starting to step it up with Michigan being back, Penn State's, on the up and up. Wisconsin's, doing pretty decent. Northwestern surprising teams, and Northwestern isn't a typical powerhouse, but they're still hanging with teams and they're beating teams they're not supposed to beat. Michigan State's always solid on defense. They always have a down year here and there, but I mean they're still solid. But as you're going on off of what you're saying is better rested, yeah, I could see that because I mean there's some games we play kids I don't even know who they are. Like I've never even heard about this kid.
And I mean that's something that I would think that Alabama and Tua's been getting pulled almost every game going into the fourth quarter. I think the first fourth quarter he played was against LSU. I could be a little off on that, but I mean, it seems like when Clemson plays people, most of the time at least, that their starters are going to be pulled halfway through the third quarter every game. And unless you're playing like one of the out of conference games this year, like against A&M or like I would think this year's South Carolina Clemson game will be a lot more competitive. So hopefully Clemson starters are in the fourth quarter. But when you're only playing 2 or 3 games a year where you're really having to play 4 quarters of football, I think it gives you a lot of rest, and it kind of gives you a sense of we teams we're going to be way more rested than they are, should be way more ready to go than whoever we're facing in the playoff is. Because I mean, if you look at I think it kind of hurts Clemson too sometimes.
That's what I was about to say. But let's play devil advocate. At the same time, we've only game time experience. We've only had maybe 2.5, 3 quarters to work together, and you could even see from last week at Duke. Maybe that hurt us a little bit. I mean, we had more drops than I've ever seen us have, in a game. But I mean, it was a little bit colder. The ball was a little bit wetter. It was a little, it was a different, feel for and all the kids that are dropping are all basically freshmen. But you're going to have those mistakes. But to play devil's advocate and almost agree with you there. Yeah, I could see it hurting us in the long run.
But something I want to touch on, because something I've really been impressed by this year is Clemson's receivers, man. Justin Ross, T. Higgins, I can't think, Deion, the Kendrick kid, and
Hunter Renfrow still around for his.
I mean, the receivers are just unreal. And how much of a benefit do you think Trevor Lawrence gets from playing with a receiver core and having Travis Etienne, players around him that are just so elite?
Yeah, what his best friend right now is definitely Travis Etienne, as well as Adam Choice, as well as the young kid. Can't even think of his name, Dixon. The running back, he's a young kid too. He's a freshman. That whole core working together. I mean, you got to think. Look how good they are now. Can you imagine 2 more years working together, night and day in the offseason? Because in the offseason, they're back there practicing plays. They're in the weight room together. They're building that camaraderie. They're getting their timing down. Next year, the year after, this offense is probably going to be. I'm actually willing to say it's going to be the best offense we've ever seen.
Well, I mean, I think if there's going to be a down year for Clemson, I think it's going to be next year, because I think you're going to lose so much on that defensive line. And I don't care what recruits you bring in my humble opinion, you're not going to replace those 4 guys. And I'm not saying that I'm saying Clemson's down year is going to be next year. Clemson's down year is going to be next year, maybe, and they'll maybe lose 2 games at the most. And I think that having that defensive line this year has helped, the offense tremendously. For most teams so far this year, Clemson's only going to have to score 20 points to win. I mean, there's not many teams you're going to play that Clemson's going to play at least that's just going to put 30 on you. I mean, you're not going to face that until you get the playoff with Clemson. And I think that's something that is going to hurt them a little bit next year. Obviously, you have Xavier Thomas and KJ Henry, 2 guys. I mean, Xavier Thomas has flashed at times this year I've seen.
Freak of an athlete.
I mean, would you be willing to say that he could, at the end of his career, which I'm assuming he's at 3 and gone, probably be one of the best defensive linemen that's ever played at Clemson?
He has every bit of ability to be, and he's even shown that this year. And it's tough. I mean, he's playing behind arguably the best defensive line in Clemson football history. I think that's going to be one of the debates that you and I are going to be in a rocking chair somewhere in the Low Country, sipping sweet tea and having that debate. He could be. I'm excited for the kid. You can drop him back. He's fast. I mean, he can cover a wide receiver. I fully expect him to cover a tight end somewhere in the future, but his versatility is going to easily make him one of the best defensive linemen to ever play at Clemson.
And obviously it sucks for Carolina fans who, he was a recruit that went back and forth between South Carolina and Clemson for a while, but seeing him play so well and him just absolutely flashing out. He's one of the fastest D linemen I've seen off the edge. And I'm I was O-line in high school. I can definitely appreciate what O-line and D-line do in college and NFL football. But to see the way he can absolutely just flash off the edge and just run past people, it's going to be a very scary sight to see when he really gets, I would say, bigger and stronger, and gets to the point where he can just throw offensive linemen around. And even another point I would say is that when maybe he gets to the NFL, I think the role that he would be best fit in would be a Von Miller type of guy that occasionally drops back in coverage. But that's really who he reminds me of, is Von Miller.
He could easily play outside linebacker. You can put him at a D end. I mean, like I said, his versatility. You can easily go from a 4-3 to a 3-4, just off of him, and what you would want to do. You can disguise coverages with that guy. From a coaching ability, I mean, he gives you so many options, which is great. So he could. I mean, to say he's the best, if he'll easily be top 5, top 10.
I mean, I think that playing behind two of the, I would say, I mean, you have 4 defensive linemen on Clemson's first 4 defensive linemen are 3 are probably top 30 picks, and Austin Bryan, I say, is who's projected to go into the 40s and 50s. But that's 4 D linemen off of Clemson that are going to go in the first 2 rounds. I would say at the worst, go in the first 2 rounds. But playing behind that obviously has to give him a huge advantage because, A, you're going to be way more fresh than other defensive linemen in the country. If he went to South Carolina, he'd be playing a lot more snaps than he is at Clemson right now just because of the need. But getting that experience and learning behind those guys has to be an advantage compared to some of the other D linemen in the country.
The learning aspect for what he's getting, he's basically getting a master's degree in leadership. I mean, think about the guys he's behind right now, showing him, teaching him, because those guys want to leave behind a legacy. I guarantee you that he is under their wing, sitting in film, watching how offenses are working. I mean, you're basically the guy that's replacing Tom Brady, and Tom Brady wants to teach you stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine that. I mean, he's set up for success in so many ways.
I mean, I definitely think he's going to be one of the better D linemen to ever play at Clemson. But before I get, my fans pissed off about me being excited about a Clemson player, let's get back to South Carolina and to Clemson, the real game that's going to go on. What do you think of the job that Will Muschamp has done through 3 years at South Carolina? He's going to become, after this year, most likely going to become the winningest coach through 3 years at South Carolina, which kind of speaks to the job he's done. It also speaks to the history of South Carolina's football program. But overall, what do you think of the job he's done so far?
I think he's done okay. He did kind of inherit a dumpster fire. Is he really going to be the winningest coach in South Carolina history?
Through 3 years, yeah. He was already tied for it through 3 years. So, I mean, if he stayed 10 years, I would give him a chance to be the winningest coach. And that's just saying that because we really haven't had a coach stay for that long and had sustained success. Joe Morrison comes to mind, but he obviously tragically died in the 80s. But overall, he would be the most successful coach through 3 years, Jeff. I think he has to win 2 more games maybe or something like that.
So to be the most successful coach and to stay at a bottom-feeding bowl game, how does that make you feel as a South Carolina fan?
I mean, it sucks to a point.
But, I mean, that's kind of –
I mean, it is what it is to me at this point because over the last 10 years, I would say South Carolina has had the more success in a 10-year stretch than it ever has in its program history. And it's good to be a South Carolina fan. I think that South Carolina fans used to not even expect to go to a bowl game. And obviously you have to take steps to go in the right direction. And I think that the program, in my opinion, is going in the right direction. And that obviously I think that South Carolina fans right now's expectation should be at minimum 8 wins. And then I think in 3 years from now, if Muschamp, and I think with Helinski coming in is going to be a big difference maker. But
that's the quarterback from California.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a baller, in my opinion. I would say you win the SEC East once with him, and that's not – I wouldn't say that's good enough, but that's the bare minimum expectations based off of his height. But I would think that –
it'd be tough.
I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, you think about like last year, South Carolina won 9 games, and I try to play devil's advocate with people about this all the time. South Carolina won 9 games last year. Florida was at the worst it's ever been in its history. Tennessee was at the worst it's ever been in its history. Georgia was obviously elite, but, I mean, that's 2 of the top 3 programs in this side of the conference were pretty bad. And I mean, only to win 9 games isn't – I mean, you win 9 games, and that helps a lot. That's why I said this year, and I picked us to win like 9 games, I think, or something like that. But for this year, I was like, if we regress some, I'm kind of not expecting it, but I could see it happen because of how bad so many programs in the SEC East were last year.
Yeah, they were. It was – I mean, it's definitely – I mean, the East has been down for years. That's why like when people always pump up the SEC, I'm like, well, what about this? Oh, well, and it's almost like Alabama sucks up so much excuses for you guys. It's laughable. Well, that's why I think it's funny talking about bringing that back up again. But yeah, I mean, to go back on your Muschamp question, he's doing a good job. I don't think he's a very good head coach. I was living in Gainesville, I think 1 year when he was there. They loved him, and then he got blown up by Louisville, and they kind of went downhill from there. I just don't think he's a very good head coach. I think he's more of a coordinator type of coach. I mean, which is fine. I mean, look at Venables. He is arguably top 3 best defensive, coordinators in the country, and we pay him as such. So, maybe he goes back to being a coordinator somewhere because he can easily get a job being a defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a great offensive type of person. That's why he has to always have a good offensive coordinator. But I just don't think he's a very good head coach.
Well, I don't know if you actually saw this stat today, but for points per game, McClendon is averaging more points per game this year than only like one Spurrier team averaged in his entire existence, in his entire coaching career at South Carolina. So I think McClendon's a superstar in the making, and I could be wrong about this. And people get, if he ends up sucking next year, then so be it. But I think he's going to be if he can stay at South Carolina, and they can keep McClendon and T-Rob there. I think that Muschamp is going to end up having a decent amount of success. And I mean, when you think about it on South Carolina scale, like what is success? If Muschamp keeps a career of making 5 or 6 bowl games in a row, and maybe making a New Year's 6 and winning the East every once in a couple of years. I mean, that's as good as you can really ask for, considering how in South Carolina's program history, we've won the SEC once, and I mean, we have one ACC championship that came from the 60s. There's not been a lot of success. So when you have a guy like Muschamp come in and guarantee that I would say he can almost guarantee you win 7 games a year. South Carolina fans shouldn't, be satisfied with that, but you have to be happy with it to a point. Yeah,
but I mean, maybe because I'm on the other side, I wouldn't want to be happy with that. Like there's even sometimes I just wonder, and not to trash talk, but it's almost like you guys have always been, kind of on the bottom half of everything. Doesn't there come a point in time, especially now with social media, where almost everyone can have a voice? Like if you said something, I mean, look how just things are now. If you said something bad and it's on camera, like you're going to get fired from your job. Just because someone has a 10-second clip of you cussing out someone, and then they put their own spin on it and not having the whole story, you're instantly fired.
Well,
I mean, just think about that. Are you really just want to sit back and just, we'll lose to Kentucky here and there, and we'll place 3rd in the East, and this is who we are. I mean, doesn't it come a point in time where you're like, it's time to take that next step and win the East? I mean, you went there one time and got blown out by Auburn.
But that was also Cam Newton's Auburn team that I think whoever went out of East would have gotten blown out by. I mean, I was at that game and I watched it, and it was seeing him play and just absolutely destroy South Carolina was unreal. But I mean, back to your point, I think that you can never be satisfied with losing. You have to want to win every game, and I think that's Muschamp's mindset. But my problem is with South Carolina fans who expect us to win 11 and 12 games every year, and we're just not at a point right now where the program is going to do that. 3 or 4 years from now, if Muschamp trends in the right direction and recruiting trends in the direction it's been going in, maybe we can get to that point where 10 wins is the expectation, 10 or more, and then winning the East. But having a Georgia that you're going to have to compete against every year that's just going to be so good as long as Kirby Smart's there, Dan Mullen being at Florida, I think that you have to be, you have to not be satisfied with 8 wins or be happy with 8 wins, but that should be your bare minimum expectation. That's really what I'm saying.
Then I'll agree with you. Your bare minimum should be 8 to 9. Yeah, anything less than that, you would want to say that's a failure.
Well, I would say, next year the schedule is really tough considering we play, Alabama. You play Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia. That's 3 out of the top 6 teams in the country. Whatever week you're in, that's next year's going to be the toughest schedule. But I think I would say Helinski's redshirt freshman year, as long as he doesn't play 4 next year, would be the year that I would judge him the most on. Because that program is going to be his at this point. Those are his players. If he wins 10 games that year, I think the most South Carolina fans will be pretty satisfied or expect him to get extended at some point.
I mean, is he as good as advertised? Because you guys always seem to get, like, even Bentley came in highly rated. Then you had like 2 other kids before him that ended up transferring or quitting and all this other stuff that were supposed to be the next greatest thing. I mean, how good is this kid from? He's from California, which is a football powerhouse state, but rarely does a kid leave the state, which is a pretty good nod when it comes to recruiting on you guys. So I'll definitely give you that. But I mean, what do you think? Is he going to live up to that?
I think I'm willing to say he lives up to the expectations, and it's not just that. Sure, we got him from California, but I think a lot of things went our way with the recruiting process for him, but it wasn't. I mean, Stanford offered him late, and that was his dream school. And if they offered him a little bit early, it probably been hard to keep him on. But
yeah.
After we offered him, Michigan offered, and Ohio State offered, and there were some other, big time offers he got. So it made me be confident about the way he plays. And I mean, he's killed it at Elite 11. Measuring sticks, he's done really well. And so he played well this year too. And I would say the program that he played at in California isn't that great. And for him to win 5 or 6 games with them would be pretty good. I mean, last year they had a lot more success, but he's playing against, the Bishop Gormans, that really tough schedule out there in California. But I think he's going to be their next real big deal. And my thing with Bentley is that obviously expectations were high for some people, but he was barely a 4-star recruit. And you can say what you want about the star ratings and whatever you want to, but
I don't take a lot of that. Back when we used to have a sports show, before I stepped away to be a dad, we always said 5-star kids bring 5-star problems.
Yeah.
And then a 2 or 3-star kid would always, put forth, or typically would put forth, a 5-star effort. So we would always have a thing with, you have to make sure the 5-star kid is a 5-star person.
Yeah.
And that we talk about that in recruiting.
Because, I mean, this is something because I interviewed Helinski personally, and he's always been a great kid from the outside looking in, at least. But something that he talked about that I didn't even know about during our interview was how he would go and, visit hospitals every week. And it was something that no one knew about, and nobody knew about it until when a parent tweeted. He'd been doing this for almost a year at this point, going to hospitals and talking to kids with terminally ill, cancer or whatever else. And it just shows the quality of character he has. And obviously with his brother, I think he's done a lot of good with his brother. I mean, his brother committed suicide. It was a terrible thing. Prayers out to them. But a lot of good has come from that tragedy, and I think he's going to be a guy character-wise that I would say would be around the level of I'm not saying he's going to be our Deshaun Watson, but he's going to be a guy character-wise and on the field-wise that people are he's going to be a very high-quality player, and he's going to be a very high-quality person off the field like Deshaun was for Clemson.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm glad as a rival, you never want your rival to have good players, but at the same time, I will never root against a good kid. I mean, I was never Chad Kelly's biggest fan, but at the same time, I mean that kind of speaks for itself. But I mean, good kids are something you want to cheer for, anyways. Even I was a huge Marcus Lattimore fan.
Yeah,
for 1 game a year kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's something with, Deshaun that I hated playing against him, but I had to respect who he was on and off the field and expect his character, because it was just, he was such a guy of high-quality character. And that's right now with Christian Wilkins, he's a guy that's such a great player for Clemson, probably a top 5 or 10 draft pick. Yeah. But I can hate him whenever he plays Carolina, but whenever he's not playing Carolina, I kind of just want to cheer for the guy because he's such a good kid.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys you want to definitely.
Anyway, back to the actual line of questions. Trying not to get too off topic anymore. But what position group or what player for South Carolina scares you the most for Saturday's game?
Can I be honest? Or you want me to?
I mean, you can be honest and say nobody, or you can.
I'm not really. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not really worried about any of your guys. Just knowing our matchups. I will say Debo. There we go. Punt return. The kick return game. That is one aspect that you guys can easily have a change momentum just by having Debo Samuels on the field. We haven't faced anybody. It's not necessarily the kickoff returns, because our kickoff guy is notorious for kicking it, basically out of the end zone. Potter, when he kicks the ball, it lands in the stands. That's just the kid's got a boot. Punt return, I would say, would be one of the aspects I'm a little nervous on. Special team. You just say special teams then, because there's even times when we're receiving a punt, I'm still a little shaky, still a little nervous. I do know pregame, I'm not throwing any shade, but you guys like to trash talk us in pregame. I am kind of worried something gets out of hand. It seems to always happen. Back in my prime, I used to love that, and then as you get older, it takes more away from the game, and I hate to see that.
I'm kind of on the same level of thinking that I hate seeing people don't trash talk on the field after the game or before the game. Trash talk when you're playing, or trash talk by the way you play. Don't just say stuff and then not back it up.
100%. And I hated DJ Swearinger, but the funny thing is, I was DJ Swearinger when I played. I never stopped talking. Imagine that. I didn't play as good as him, but I mean, I never wanted to tackle you. I wanted to knock your head off.
Yeah, but
I rarely went for an interception. The only interception I was taking was your earplugs because those were coming with me. And it was funny, like I remember when you guys had him, I was like, man, I really hate that guy. Man, he's such a he's a cheap shot. And my buddy looked at me, he's like, you played the same way. Like, why? Like, that's why you hate him, because he reminds me of you. And I was like, dadgummit. Because I would lay a hit and then like look, and then I would be in your face.
Well, I think that he's one of those players, like kind of like I would say Cash Sanders for Kentucky is like you hate to play against him, but if he was on your team, you'd love him.
God, yeah. If we had DJ Swearinger, there would probably be a statue in my house of him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of those guys who he's a competitor, and you know you're going to get the best out of him every game. And I think that's something and the trash talk was really fun. I mean, him flexing on Andre Ellington is probably most South Carolina fans' like favorite memory of South Carolina Clemson.
I was on the field for that, and I saw it, like, it was almost in slow motion. I mean, he hit him so hard the kid spun. I mean, even when you watch the replay, you're like, how was that real? It was real. And then he just flexed it on top of him. What made me mad about that, like, because if I would have made that hit, yeah, you better believe if I hit you so hard you did a somersault, yes, I'm in your face talking trash. But no one came to Ellington's defense. People didn't even – if that had been like my O-line and you didn't just push him off, like, come on.
Yeah,
but that's how we played back then. And we were a little soft.
And I think that's something that South Carolina Clemson kind of switched the roles on whenever obviously the winning part went to Clemson, the losing part went to South Carolina. Is that, you know, South Carolina kind of went soft, and I would say definitely against the embarrassment that was that 56-7 game and Jamarcus King getting dragged into the end zone. Was South Carolina was just soft at that time, and Clemson was a very good ball team. They took advantage of South Carolina in every aspect of the game, and I think that, in my opinion, I don't think that South Carolina's going to win Saturday, but if they keep it close and play hard the entire game, I mean, I'm not going to be satisfied with losing. Obviously, I want to win. It sucks to lose to your rival, but if I can just see some form of competitiveness, then that lets me know that we're in the right direction when it comes to actually making this a rivalry again.
No, I can see that. I mean, just seeing from your point, because unless some kind of miracle happens, I mean, no trash talk, we just had better players.
Yeah, I mean, it's facts.
Yeah, it's just I'm not worried about the game. You know, it's a rivalry. I expect you guys to throw the kitchen sink at us, but the cream's going to rise to the top, and, you know, we will probably, and there's a 99% chance we're going to win. But looking from, you know, switching seats and the roles are reversed, yeah, if my team kept it close against a team that should have blown us out, then a little bit you can trash talk that a little bit. Like, yeah, you guys are so good, but we kept it close. You're not that good. You're paper champions and all this other stuff. And it's just one of those things that you can just kind of, you know, you got that leg up a little bit on us. But
I mean, it's something you could build off of definitely going towards next year.
Exactly.
Because I mean, obviously, I think I've seen the I would say trash talk of the. I think it's Kentucky's beat us 5 in a row. I mean, it is what it is. I don't care at this point. Kentucky's beat us 5 in a row. A&M's beat us 5 in a row, and then if Clemson wins Saturday, that'll be 5 in a row over us. So I just saw the trash talk, and I thought it was hilarious. I mentally checked out of this season after the Kentucky game. I was over it at that point. But I just thought that was so hilarious. It was like fear the quadruple thumb or something. It was something stupid.
Yeah, I saw it too. The whole fear the thumb thing. You got started, so
yeah. I mean,
you got it coming right back to you. And I hated the fear the thumb. I mean, being on Twitter and being that fan, I caught more than probably anybody did. But I mean, I hated it, the fear the thumb. I mean, I hate that.
My thing is that I hate South Carolina fans who get so upset when people trash talk us. But I'm like, in that 5-year stretch, we trash talked it's like Clemson so much. We were 5 in a row. Like, you couldn't tell us anything. And I think Clemson fans, it's almost the same way now. Clemson fans, like, I don't even try to argue with my friends that are Clemson fans because I just like, what am I supposed to say? Like, we've lost 4 in a row. We got beat in the last 2 games, we got beat by a score of 90-17. Like, what am I supposed to say at this point? I just don't really I don't get why you even go to talk trash if you're a Carolina fan.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of have to. You got to back your boys a little bit. And, you know, I'm in a bunch of those Carolina versus Clemson groups on Facebook. I used to comment all the time, and now it's a lot of trolls. I mean, it's this, it's that. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm getting older. It's just getting old at this point, just because you just see people just want to say stuff. You know what I mean? But that's what also makes the rivalry the rivalry. because the fans are going to trash talk win or lose. And
I mean, no, it's definitely fun, and we post a meme of the week at the Spurs Up Show, and we do different stuff. And it's just, I mean, most of it's picking at Clemson's schedule, and obviously you can say what you want about schedules. I don't care. I just think it's funny, the different memes. Like there's one of them we made with the car like turning into the right lane really fast, and there's a sign with two of them that says Clemson, and it's like playing the ACC is the lane they're turning in too fast, and then playing an actual decent schedule is the other lane. I thought that was pretty funny, but anyway, so. One of the final questions we have here is, what would South Carolina have to do, or what would have to go South Carolina's way for us to pull out a victory Saturday?
You got to injure Trevor Lawrence, which I honestly think you're going to be gunning for him. I think your defense is going to try to hurt him. That's not me trash talking, saying you guys are like bad players or bad coach or anything. That's just I've played. And there was times you're like, man, we gotta hit this guy hard to where he doesn't want to come back in the game. Or
I mean, I think there's
shorter, or like there's even times you played against a good wide receiver. Like, man, when he comes across the middle, you let him know, we're here, and he gets alligator arms. He doesn't want to make that catch. It's kind of just setting the standard. Even in basketball, not now, because if you blink hard at LeBron, it's a technical. But I mean, back when I watched basketball with Jordan and Shaq, I mean, if you went into the paint, you earned that layup. So I think there's going to be certain things you guys need to do to really take that away. And you've mentally, I think you've got to shake Trevor. You've got to hurt him a little bit. I mean, not like a cheap shot type of hurt him. I think you need to get in his grill a lot. Pop it when you can. If you take away the run, that's really going to hurt us. Shut down. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do that would be almost a domino effect.
Well, something that I want to clarify is I don't think that you're saying that your South Carolina's team is going to intentionally intentionally injure
not saying
Trevor Lawrence.
Or like, let them know you're there type of thing.
I mean, just like knocking him up, not roughing him up, but basically just, when you get to the quarterback, make sure you hit him. He knows you hit him.
Yeah, I'm not, definitely, not saying they're going to take a cheap shot. Definitely not 100% saying that, but I'm just saying a guy gets through the thing. Let's, don't ease up. It's football.
It is football.
You not hurt them, but if you get 6 shots during a game, they're going to take their toll. I'm just saying, let them know you're constantly there.
Make them see ghosts.
Exactly. He can anticipate a rush. Maybe he releases it too quick. It's just certain things like that. I'm 100% not saying you guys are going to, cheap shot or anything. I'm just saying, when you get to them, let them know you got to them, kind of thing.
I was just trying to clarify that because I know we have crazy fans who are gonna take that.
I'm definitely not saying you're gonna get bad coach or you guys got bad players, but I mean, playing against a guy like that, you want to let them know you're always there.
Okay. I definitely agree. I think that's something that shutting down the run game specifically. If you shut down Clemson's run game, or you shut down any team's run game, it's hard to just win a ball game unless you have Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers back there.
Yeah, exactly. They can just pick you apart. And Trevor's young right now. He can pick you apart, but like I said, he's young right now. He's a little unproven, but he can pick you apart with those wide receivers.
So back to hypotheticals. Let's say if Clemson somehow lost to South Carolina, or if South Carolina somehow won the game Saturday, beat Clemson, but they won the ACC championship. Is Clemson in the playoff, in your opinion?
They were talking about that on the radio today. I don't know. I don't think so. But Michigan also has a loss. So there's a lot that would have to happen.
Well, I think that okay, so right now, if Clemson, in my opinion, this is the 4 playoff. If Clemson lost South Carolina and won the ACC, I would say that and Bama and Michigan, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma won out. I think those 4 probably have to go in first, because those are all 1 losses and won their championship. They had their losses earlier in the year, and they've shown that they could play better than that. Obviously, what they played before, but so let's switch it. Let's say you beat South Carolina, but you lose to the ACC. You lose in the ACC championship. Is Clemson the playoff?
It's tough. I mean, if we're Alabama, yeah. Because it doesn't matter. They always put Alabama. I mean, Alabama lost to Auburn, didn't play in the SEC championship game, and then went to the playoff.
Well, my thing with
it's I don't know. There would be so much that would have to happen because the committee loves Alabama. You also have to understand when they do the committee stuff, it all comes down to money. That's why they put Alabama in there, because they're going to sell tickets, they're going to sell merchandise. It's going, you know what I mean?
I definitely agree.
A lot of it comes down to money. That's why I live in here in Orlando. I live 3 miles from UCF. All the sports talk here is about UCF. half the reason they're not getting looked at is, you can say their schedule, but at the same time, it's irrelevant. They schedule who they schedule. It's not their fault that people don't want to play them. It's not their fault the schedule was placed 8 years ago. But the thing is a lot of people don't feel like they can pack out a stadium. But even when they played Auburn in Atlanta, they packed that daggum thing out. But they're not going to get the recognition because people look at them like, they're not going to bring money to this bowl game. Bowls. I mean, think about it. Would you rather have Alabama Clemson, or would you rather have Michigan UCF? In what's it? The Orange Bowl.
I think I'd rather have Alabama Clemson,
Exactly.
and a lot of it.
It's going to bring a lot of money. The TV stuff.
A lot of it's name recognition too. I think that's a big role that plays into it. Is a lot more people are going to want to go see or want to watch on TV Alabama and Clemson rather than Alabama UCF or Clemson UCF, and that's just because of name recognition.
Don't even use Alabama Clemson because it already has that demeanor about it. You can even say a Michigan Clemson.
Yeah,
it's just Michigan's a blue blood. They're kind of you got the Harbaugh versus Dabo, but if it was Michigan UCF, and you even put them in the Orange Bowl, which is 3 to 4 hour drive, even then that doesn't even. The people in the bowl committees are like, I don't even think UCF's going to travel. Meanwhile, UCF would travel. They would go to that game. But
I think that if UCF continues in the way they're on and somehow ends up scheduling maybe a top 5 or 6 team and beats them like last year when they beat Auburn, I think that they'll start to get a little more respect. And I don't know the real answer to if you put UCF in the playoff. My answer is no, just because the AAC or whatever conference they're in, it just isn't to the point where it has the recognition to where it needs for UCF to be put in. But
they don't have good teams, and they've tried to join. I mean, there was a year ago, they tried to join the Big 12. And the Big 12 was looking at Orlando saying, hey, we can get a Florida, we finally get a Florida market. Sorry, my pit bull's going crazy.
You're good.
We get a Florida market on everything. But even the Big 12 didn't want them. So you're trying to tell me right now the Big 12's not looking back going, man, if we would have scheduled them, we might have gotten, a national champion in there. I mean, there's a lot to look at too.
I mean, I think each game is its own, and I think that last year with UCF and Auburn, I think UCF had a lot go their way. And I want to get back to the point you made about Alabama losing the SEC championship and still going to the playoff. I think that, at least in my opinion, the thing with Alabama making the playoff, and I kind of was on the side of Alabama should make it, was that you can't be the #1 team all year, lose a game to a top 5 team, and then you're not top 4 anymore. I just don't. That's in my opinion. That's the way I look at it.
I hear that, but at the same time, if you can't, let's just break this down to like a war. If you can't win your neighborhood, if you can't be the king of your neighborhood, why should you be the king of the city, or even like anything else? If you couldn't be the mayor of your city, why should you run for governor? You're probably not, But at the same time, when politics is politics. You can probably do anything. But if you can't be the best guy in your division and you didn't even go play for it all, and the guy that beat you didn't even win it all, why are you even in the playoff? How did you even get there? But
I think that
Alabama. So it's whatever. I mean, Dabo called it the Gus bus or the Roy bus. It's Alabama and the rest of us. So no matter what Alabama does, they're always going to get in the playoff.
I mean, one of my favorite quotes is that from Shannon Sharp, and he's just hilarious. I don't know if you ever watch first. I think it's not First Take. Shannon.
Yeah, I know some of them. Yeah,
Shannon Sharp is just hilarious to me. But he had this thing where they should rename the college football playoff into the Alabama Invitational, because this is what it is at this point. If Alabama wins out or loses one game, they're going to the playoff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think a lot of that is everybody just knows how good Alabama is, and I don't think anyone can deny that at this point unless you're Danny Cannell and don't know what you're talking about.
But he's got to. I mean, you got to understand. Danny has his own agenda. That's what he gets paid to tweet. That's what he gets paid to post.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at this point, social media, you make money off social media based off posts. And I'll be the first person to tell you I get paid to make certain posts, just like Danny, just like anything else. You want to go through my tweets. If you can't find which post I was paid to tweet, then you're an idiot.
Well, I think part of that is that you want to stir the pot and make people tweet and get interaction. And I think that. But anyway, we've gone on from a little bit of a tangent. We've been here and there in this interview. But Tom, what's your score prediction for Saturday? How did the Gamecocks keep it close? What do you think is going to happen?
No, man. After seeing the coaches talk to the media today and some things were said, this might be your worst loss ever. Yeah. I would not be surprised if we hang 70 on you.
I'm gonna disagree. I think that I don't see that happening. Hopefully, I pray to God it doesn't happen because I don't want to have to look at any of my friends that are Clemson fans for next year. Just not gonna happen. But hopefully they don't put 70 on us. I guess I'd be okay with the low 40s, high 40s, low 50s. I think that would be.
Okay, what do you think?
What do I think what's going to happen in the game? I mean, it all depends to me on how Bentley plays. If Bentley plays well, then I think we'll keep it.
Man. It's a big game. I was at the Florida game, and I was surrounded by nothing but Gators, and I'm just sitting there, and they're upset. I'm like, guys, it's the fourth quarter. Big game Bentley's about to show up. And everyone looked at me. I'm like, it's big game Bentley. It's a big game. It's on him. He's got to close it. He's going to mess it up. And the rest was history.
Okay, I understand everything with the fourth quarter, but to me, Bentley, and I mean statistically, Bentley has played his best 6 games. I won't say 6 games, but he's played his best stretch of football since he got booed against A&M. And I don't know if that pissed him off or having Scarnecchia come in and play for you and somehow beating Missouri. I still don't understand that considering the team Missouri's been on. But I think that he's played his best football since then. They've been hot in the first quarter against teams like Florida, who, say what you want to, beat LSU. And this is obviously not anything on defense, but play well against them. And I think if he has confidence and goes into the game thinking, hey, we can actually put some points in these guys, maybe we'll score. I think, to me, a win would be losing by like 2 touchdowns. I think if we play to the point where we only lose like 42-28, I think I'll take that as a victory, in my opinion.
Explain something explain something to me about Bentley. Why is it when he does something, like he scores a touchdown, he runs around and does his little high steps and acts like he invented the cure for like the flu? I mean, it's like something stupid to be like 7-0. I mean, he like celebrates it like he just won the World Cup, the Super Bowl, and the World Series in that throw. I don't get that from him. Like,
I can't tell you the answer because I just don't know it. I agree. I definitely agree with you in that I think that it's kind of dumb, and that if you're going up, if you throw for a touchdown, you're still down by 2 scores. Why are you celebrating or doing anything? Like, it has no real relevance on the game or what's going on. But I couldn't tell you why he does it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
But when he leaves, are you guys going to finally fire his dad? Because, I mean,
well, there have been rumors going around, and I don't know if this is true or not, is that Bobby Bentley is going to be interviewed for the head coach for the Charlotte 49ers, the UNC Charlotte 49ers. Yeah. I saw that today on Twitter.
Wouldn't be a bad hire for them.
I mean, obviously, I think that South Carolina's running backs have been very subpar considering what they used to be with Mike Davis and Marcus Lattimore, and I think that Bentley not really being a running backs coach has helped that. But I mean, if you want my honest opinion, I think they hired Bobby Bentley to get Jake to come. And you can say what you want to.
Yeah, it's just how recruiting goes. It's the same way that Tua's family magically moved from Hawaii to Tuscaloosa, and his dad's business got bought out randomly. That was worth 3 times what they paid. Or
I mean, look at what Xavier Thomas's dad's place got. His Washington place got paid for like 4 times it was worth or something like that.
I don't know anything about that, but I do know that Jadeveon Clowney's dad got some random job. You know what I mean? And
recruits get paid. It's nothing to it.
No. I mean, I'll be the first guy to tell you. I mean, I've been I've talked to guys that have played, and they're like, it's ridiculous. I mean, if you drive. I'm great friends with a guy that's a big time at Alabama, and it's a Dodge dealership at their athletic facility, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be literally blind not to see how college recruits are getting paid.
Yeah, that's why I laugh about it. And it's the same thing with Zion.
Yeah,
he was committed to Clemson. Like, we're all like, man, I cannot believe we're getting this. He's a game changer. He's like the Deshaun Watson of basketball. He's going to come in. He's going to change us. The night before, Duke magically shows up, and he goes to Duke, and they're like, what the heck? Oh, of course. And he got paid. And then the story comes out where Kansas offered him everything on his son, his dad a job, but then he turns, millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars for Kansas to go play at Duke for free. But it's Coach K, and no one ever wants to investigate Duke because they're a blue blood, and Coach K walks on water.
Well, the thing is, if they did investigate Duke or Duke got indicted for something, then the NCAA knows that they would not be able to make money off of that brand anymore.
Exactly.
And it's why Alabama and Clemson and Michigan and all the blue blood programs in the NCAA football will never get investigated.
There's a lot of stuff that's like, oh, yeah, we are going to look over here. It's the same thing with UNC. Fake classes. Are you kidding me? They got fake classes? But nothing ever happened.
I mean, it's just because they don't want to lose the money that they're going to potentially make off of those brands and not having to go through not being able to make the playoff or anything like that. Like Alabama would never get, right now at least, Alabama's never going to get a penalty for anything just because the NCAA knows they're going to lose so much money off of it.
The refs are already in the bag. You saw the Mississippi State game. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
I mean, you could say the same thing with Clemson, and whenever they play close opponents close, that the refs are going to be more for the side of Clemson because the ACC wants a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I don't remember the game, but I remember it was like one of those times it's like we've made it, where a call came, and it was like, this is going to suck because I know what the outcome should be. And then we got the call, and I was like, we've made it, y'all.
Yeah.
We're getting those BS calls. I'm like, we've officially made it to the mountaintop, guys. It's okay.
But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for us. That's it for the interview portion of the Spurs episode. Tom, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. That was I had a blast, dude. I kind of miss talking sports. I miss
obviously
football show.
It's a fun time getting to talk trash. Rivalry week, Cook, Clemson. Everybody knows the deal. Cox by 90. We're not going to win, but we're going to have a good time anyway.
Out tailgate us. I think that's what I saw a sticker today on Twitter. It says out tailgate Clemson.
Oh yeah, that's what we're here for, is to get drunk and not remember the game. But anyway, appreciate you coming on. You know, hopefully we'll get you on for next year. Next year's game, if we're not hopefully be a little more closer than whatever the score is going to be for this year.
Man. Anytime you want, dude. I had a blast.
All right, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, brother.